The doctor named Sebastian is a really smart molecular biologist. He's trying to make a serum that can make people invisible for the US military. The team found out that making something invisible is easy, but making it visible again is really hard. He also wants to create a serum that can make them visible again. Sebastian has been working on perfecting this formula for the last 4 years. He's been doing experiments on animals in a secret military lab that only he and his team can access. Right now, his main project is trying to make a female gorilla named Isabel visible again after making her invisible. One late night, while working on fixing the molecular structure of the protein that will make Isabel visible, he solves the problem. He tells his success to the important people on his team right away. Even though Sebastian spends almost all his time working on the serum, he gets really fixated on his ex-girlfriend, Dr. Linda McKay, who is also a scientist on his team. What he doesn't know is that she's now in a relationship with Dr. Matt Kensington, another member of their research group, along with veterinarians Sarah Kennedy and Carter Abbey, and technicians Frank Chase and Janice Walton. Sebastian and his colleagues finally make the serum work on the gorilla after a lot of effort. To celebrate, the team goes out for a fancy dinner, and Sebastian raises his glass to the best research group in the world. But for Sebastian, it feels like the end because making the gorilla visible again was the last major breakthrough. Instead of telling the military about his success, Sebastian strangely lies to the Oversight Committee, which includes his old teacher Dr. Howard Kramer. He convinces Linda and Matt to lie to the rest of the team too, saying that Kramer and the board approved human testing. And guess who the test subject is? Sebastian himself. Despite the uncomfortable honesty, the procedure works. After being knocked out for about 17 hours from shock, Sebastian wakes up in pain, squinting because he can see through his eyelids. He then does some tests on himself. However, when it's time to become visible again after 3 days, the reversal doesn't work and almost kills him. The researchers make a latex mask for Sebastian to wear around the lab, trying to make him look somewhat human. Meanwhile, Matt discovers a hopeful way to make Sebastian visible again. Unfortunately, a computer simulation doesn't work. As the days go by, being alone and practically trapped in the lab starts to make Sebastian impatient. Against Carter's advice and his own rules, he sneaks out to his apartment to grab some books, CDs, and Twinkies to bring back to the lab. While there, he gives in to temptation and spies on his neighbor. He goes on to commit a serious crime against her while still fully invisible. Linda shows up at the apartment, finding the mask and clothes, but no sign of Sebastian. Sebastian comes back to the lab right when the others were getting ready to go look for him. Linda tells him that if he leaves again, she and Matt will spill the beans to Dr. Kramer about their actions. Ignoring their warning, he puts together a device that plays a video loop of his heat signature in his quarters. The repeating image tricks Frank into thinking that Sebastian is still in the lab, even though he's actually out spying on Linda and Matt. At Linda's place, Sebastian catches sight of Matt and Linda getting ready to be intimate and breaks their bedroom window in a fit of anger. The two call Frank, who insists that Sebastian is still in bed. Meanwhile, a furious Sebastian goes back to the lab, frustrated and upset about the idea of Linda and Matt being together. Irritated by the constant barking of an invisible dog, Sebastian approaches the animal, trying to calm it down before unexpectedly killing it with his bare hands by smashing it against the cage wall. The team eventually realizes they've been watching a recording and that Sebastian has been sneaking out without their knowledge. Linda and Matt visit Dr. Kramer's house and spill the beans about the experiment on Sebastian. Dr. Kramer is let down and informs them that they are no longer part of the project. He tries to call the military to tell them about Sebastian, but unbeknownst to him, Sebastian has followed Linda and Matt. Sebastian deceives Kramer into stepping out of the house and then drowns him in his own swimming pool. The following day, Sebastian bides his time until the entire team is in the lab. He disables the phones and changes all the elevator codes, leaving only his own functional. Stripping off his clothing and latex mask, he starts hunting them one by one. As the team searches for Sebastian, he catches up to Janice, strangling her with an IV line and hiding her lifeless body in a locker. After discovering Janet's lifeless body, Linda, Sarah, and Frank seek refuge in the lab, while Matt and Carter, armed with tranquilizer guns, go hunting for Sebastian in the deserted hallways using thermographic imaging goggles. Matt fires at a heat signature emanating from a steam vent. As Matt turns around, Sebastian yanks Carter into the air, perched on top of a pipe. Despite Matt's attempts to shoot him, Sebastian hurls Carter down towards a steel bar, resulting in a severe injury to his carotid artery and extensive blood loss. Sebastian nearly takes Matt's life, but Linda pulls him to safety in the nick of time. Sarah and Frank discover Carter in a barely conscious and severely injured state. Sarah, against Frank's advice, goes off alone to procure blood for a transfusion. Sensing Sebastian's presence, she splashes the blood around the room, hoping to expose his location when he steps on it. Unfortunately, Sebastian detects her plan, tackles her, and shoots her with a tranquilizer dart before ruthlessly breaking her neck. Linda and Matt discover Frank attending to the fatally wounded Carter, who ultimately succumbs to bleeding. The trio goes in search of Sarah, only to find her lifeless in the walk-in freezer. In an attempt to reveal Sebastian, Frank deploys a fire extinguisher, but Sebastian catches them off guard, impaling Frank with a crowbar from behind. He then stabs Matt in the lower chest with the hook end. Subsequently, Sebastian locks Linda and Matt inside the freezer, cranking the temperature control to the lowest setting, leaving them to face the chilling fate of freezing to death. Sebastian wears a special mask and clothes that look almost human. At the same time, Linda helps Matt's injury with sticky tape and figures out how to get out of the cold room. She makes a strong magnet with some equipment and opens the door. Then, she starts a fire to warm Matt up and gets things to make a flamethrower. In another room, Sebastian is making something explosive to destroy the place and hide the fact that he killed the team. He puts it in a machine, starts a timer, and breaks the keyboard so it can't be stopped. Just when he's about to leave, Linda shows up and tries to burn him with a simple torch. His special mask and clothes start burning, and he barely escapes. Linda uses the flamethrower to turn on the sprinklers, showing Sebastian a bit. They fight, and just when Linda's about to lose, Matt comes in and hits Sebastian with a tool. Sebastian fights back, but accidentally hits an electric box and shocks himself. Electricity goes through him, making some parts of his body visible, like his muscles and bones, but not his skin or hair. Linda and Matt discover the explosive stuff ready to blow, so they hurry to leave the lab by climbing up the elevator space. The lab bursts into flames, filling the shaft with fire. They're almost safe when Sebastian shows up. He fights with Linda and shares one last kiss, for old time's sake, before she manages to end him. She grabs the elevator cable, making the car loose, sending Sebastian falling into the fire below. Finally, Linda and Matt make it out of the burning lab. Medics quickly take them away in an ambulance.